Hello, everybody. Welcome to Optimum Ed. Appreciate you all joining us today. We are very fortunate today to have with us a special guest, my good friend and an outstanding financial advisor, Sean Danowski with Edward Jones. Sean, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Tom. Appreciate it.
Hey, we're going to be talking about 529 college savings plans today. Now, OptumEd is actually a national higher education consulting firm. So we like to say no matter who they are or where they are or what their circumstance, we can help a student find a way forward. And we can do that efficiently for the family. Most of what we do is reactive in terms of the college process, but we also are concerned about younger families. For them, it's about investing time in their child to help them develop student, but also to develop those characteristics to help them, be successful as they move forward through the school years and also into life. But the other part of that too is we need to invest some money so that we have options financially when we get to college time. And of course, the standard tool for that is the 529 college savings plan. So, Sean, take us through the basics of using a 529 plan.
Sure, Tom, I'd be happy to. So a 529 plan is basically a tax advantage plan to help you save specifically for qualified educational expenses. So the benefits to working with a 529, you get to put your money in and invest it accordingly based on whether you work with Virginia 529 directly. Here in Virginia, you have two different options. You can work with Virginia 529, put your money in and work with them either within their portfolios or the investment options that they have set up. Or you can also work with it through a financial advisor to use the College America 529 plans. Both have some differences in that you get the benefits of working with a financial advisor. You get a different choice of investments, and you get to work with the American Fund family when you're working with those advisors. But either way, when you make contributions during the course of the year, those contributions are tax deductible on your Virginia state income tax refund, your tax return, up to $4,000 a year. You're not limited to $4,000 a year. You can put more into the 529 in a given year, but that's what you're able to deduct on your income tax return. So the benefit is you get to put the money in, and it's more than maybe you'd be able to put in if you had to pay taxes first. So that can then grow over time. 529 plans also, as long as you take the money out to use on qualified expenses, you're not going to pay taxes when you pull the money out. So all that, if you put money in today and it grows for 10 years, and when you pull it out to pay for college, no tax, you're not going to pay any taxes on that growth. Whereas if you're putting into a traditional account, any gains that you may have are going to be subject to federal and state income taxes.
But this is the contributions, much like a Roth or post-tax, right? I mean, you've already paid tax on the money you're putting in, but you're not taxed on the growth.
Correct. So you take money, you have to contribute cash. You can't contribute investments. You can't roll over from another account. So you basically contribute that cash. The benefit therein really becomes, while for federal purposes, yes, it is post-tax money. When you look at Virginia income tax returns, you get to deduct the amount that you've put in for the year from your taxable income.
Okay. So how does ownership and all that work? I mean, who's the owner? Who can be the owner? How does that work?
Right. So basically, anyone could be. You need to set up an account for a beneficiary. That beneficiary generally would be your child or your grandchild, but doesn't necessarily have to be. The account owner is then responsible for the contributions and for running the account, essentially owning the account. They get to contribute the cash. They as well get to write it off on their income tax returns. But essentially, the beneficiary then is the child that gets to use the money down the road. The benefit to this is that if you are a married couple with one child, you both can open your own separate 529 accounts, which means that you can contribute up to $15,000 per account, $30,000 per year, but you can deduct up to $8,000 per year, $4,000 per account for your one child. And so again, if you have more than one child, it just means more tax savings on the front end.
So is it almost? This is something that maybe grandparents can consider almost as an estate planning tool, maybe?
Yes. So grandparents, it's a great tool for grandparents, especially if they have to take required minimum distributions from their IRA accounts. If they're looking to figure out what they can do with that money, if you're already trying to figure out how you can pass money along to your children, to your grandchildren, this is a great way. You can contribute that money into a 529 plan. Again, you get the tax benefit as a contribution, and then knowing that your grandchild gets to pull that money out down the road and use it toward their education plans or education savings. It's a great tool and a great help for your grandchildren.
Is there, from your perspective, would you, I guess, suggest one plan over another to a family, or how did they go about choosing?
Right. So the benefit of working in the American Funds and the Capital Group, working with a financial advisor, is that we get to sit down and walk through all of your goals, not just this education goal, but also talking about what maybe your retirement goal is, making sure that you're protecting your family. What do we need to do, and how can we prioritize the money that's coming in and your income in order to prioritize whether it should be going to a retirement, whether it should be going to college, how we allocate one to the other. And then as well, making sure that as we're going through that plan, making sure that you're protecting your family in case something happens to you, that we're bringing in the college saving aspect to make sure that for insurance purposes, if something were to happen to you, you're making sure to provide your family in case you can't be there anymore. The benefit of working with Virginia 529, they do have a bunch of different portfolios that are set up, but it's more kind of do it yourself. You don't get that advice and guidance. But in either side, you have options when it comes to how much risk you're willing to take with that money, whether you're not willing to take a lot of risk or more risk, your time horizon as to when you start that 529 and how many years you have until your child gets to college. And then ultimately have a little bit of leeway on both sides as to what investments you can actually invest in inside the account.
Right. Yeah. So you have a lot more flexibility as an advisor, customizing portfolio, the asset allocation for the family, as opposed to going into something that just has age-based portfolios that you have to.
Correct. We can choose basically from the whole family of American Funds set of funds to choose which ones are going to be more appropriate, not only for your risk, but for really what you're aiming to do, how much you're trying to save, and how much of that college goal you're trying to reach for your child.
So on the back end of this thing, when we start taking money out, we talk about qualified educational expenses. What are those? I mean, it's not the kid's car that he's driving or she's driving, right?
No, it's not the car. It's not those late night trips to down to the Pizza Hut or whatever down the street. No, it's going to be for your tuition. It's going to be for books. It's going to be for fees related to school. When you get to school, there's usually a bunch of fees that they have related to technology and other things, as well as room and board. So it's all those. It's going to be at college, those larger expenses related to education, and then. Just one other benefit too, that's now because due to the change in the tax law in 2018, that money can now be taken out for K through 12 if completely necessary.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of things that the 529 plan can provide to the family, and it's a lot more flexible now. So that's very good. How long? I mean, if you decide you don't want to take the money out because your child has got some scholarships and that sort of, how long do you have to spend that money?
Well, so the benefit of the 529 plans is that you can always switch the beneficiary. So if, say, your first child doesn't go to college or gets a full scholarship and you no longer need that money, but you have he or she has a younger sibling, you can transfer the beneficiary, transfer that money over so it can actually be used for qualified expenses. And then once you get through college and that money is no longer needed for education, I believe the age is about 30 before you have to then decide what to do with the money.
Great. Okay. So before we get off here, John, how do people get in touch with you?
So you can either reach me via email, sean.danowski@edwardjones.com, or reach me by phone, 804-794-3595. And then as well, if you see my link on the, I guess, where this video is going to be posted, you can follow me to my Facebook page or my link.
Yeah, so it'll be posted on OptumMed's Facebook page. With that, I'm going to say, Sean, thanks so much for being here today. Else, if you got any questions, reach out to Sean. If you want to know more about OptumMed, you can get us on our website, optummed.com. Y'all have a great day. Stay dry. Take care.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Thanks for what you do.